I'm Brady Berserker from Super Geeky Playdate, a proud member of the Gonna Geek Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, the opinions expressed are those of each individual host. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
I am the Green Arrow.
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to Earth 2's favorite newspaper, the Starling Tribune. I am the chief editor tonight, SP, and obviously the chief audio engineer. We might get into that later in the post show. And your other award-winning reporters for this episode number 210 of the Starling Tribune are Chris.
Well then, we both have excellent taste in damaged women.
Yes, Pet. And Michelle.
We're gonna need a bigger med bay.
I just love that. Of course, that's an homage to the Jaws quote by Roy Schneider. We're going to need a bigger boat. Actually, it wasn't Roy Schneider. It was the other dude, right? Anyway, it was the Jaws quote there. This podcast is recorded on Thursday, September 13th, 2018, live on www.geeks.live.
Well, that's right, and this evening we'll be discussing Legends of Tomorrow, as well as news, interviews, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the last week that could and very well will impact future episodes of Legends of Tomorrow and the greater DC TV universe that includes The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Vixen, Constantine. Heck, we might even get into some Titans one day. Who knows? I.e. to make fun of it.
And maybe some Batwoman. We'll see in 2019.
If you're new to the show, thank you for searching us out on the internet and joining us. After the show, you can check out our content at GonnaGeek.com, where you can also find other geeky videos, podcasts, and articles.
Thanks, award-winning reporters. Michelle, why don't you go ahead and break down the current episode for us?
This episode is called Necromancing the Stone. It's Season 3, Episode 15. It aired Monday, March 19, 2018. It was directed by April Mullen. Credits include 4 Earp, 1 Legends, and 2 episodes of Killjoys. Written by Grant Godfrey. Credits include 11 episodes of Legends, 6 Flash, and 4 Tomorrow People, and Morgan Faust, whose credits include 3 episodes of Legends.
I won't hold Killjoys against April Mullen. And that show is like hit or miss, and there's obvious great points to it, Legends, and there's just Flash, other things I'm like, tomorrow. What? But I won't hold that against her. I generally don't hold Killjoys against anybody because I know some people like it. I'm kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. Anyway, we're going to talk about the ratings of this week of the episode that Necromancing the Stone aired. So on Monday, this episode aired that Michelle just told you about to a total rating, and this is live plus 7-day DVR ratings, by the way, live rating of 2.10 million viewers. Now on Tuesday, there was no episode of Flash, but there was an episode of Black Lightning with their 9th episode of the first season titled The Book of Little Black Lies to a total rating of 2.47 million. And on Thursday, there was no Arrow episode. So between the two, Black Lightning just edged out Legends. I think that's very respectable for both shows.
Agreed.
So, Michelle, oftentimes what we talk about is the overall theme for the episode, and that's usually directly linked to the title if the writers are any good. Like you're not just chaptering it or something. So what's the overall theme for this episode?
This is an amazing title. One of the best titles, I think, ever. The stone refers to the death totem. Necromancy is communicating with the dead. There's an 80s movie called Romancing the Stone. So we get Necromancing the Stone. It is amazing.
I love the title.
It's a great title. When I remember reading like the episode breakdowns before we got to here, just see what the titles were, I was like, Necromancing the Stone. Okay, this sounds cool. And it delivered.
I love this episode on so many levels. We really don't get any time travel besides Ava and Gary going to get Constantine, and we'll get that. But this is a Sarah episode, and we often rate her as captain. So I think maybe we should start there. She opens the box with the death totem. Chris, what do you think about that?
I don't think she's necessarily in the right headspace when it comes to opening the box with the death totem in it. I mean, they make it seem pretty clear that she's not quite 100% there when she makes that choice. So I don't necessarily hold it against her.
I think as captain, she would know a lot better than to open the box. I would also think that she said, okay, everybody's going to team up. We're not going to do solo missions. Everybody's going to team up. And then
Except
she
me.
says, oh, I'll go by myself.
Yeah. That was a poor decision.
Yeah. And we're rating her as captain. She's making decisions as captain. I got to go down on her on this one. I can't rate her high. I have to go rate her low. And I'm thinking a 4.
Ouch. First off, she does have a good idea of having everyone pair off. Mick decides not to help with a certain mission and decides to drink a lot. That's Mick.
That's how he contributes, is by keeping his morale up.
Here's the thing, though. She gets those weird headaches. She does try to contact Constantine before, and Constantine doesn't have a cell phone because that's Constantine.
Damn Skippy.
And she is in a lot of pain, and then when she opens it, she actually sees herself. So I'm thinking a 6 because, yeah, she should not have opened it, but she tried to not open it. Like, she knew she needed Constantine, but Constantine just wasn't there.
See, I was thinking more like incomplete because she's not really in control most of this episode. She makes a decision when her headspace is compromised already because the death totem's causing these debilitating headaches and things like that.
She shouldn't try to fix it herself, though. She should get help.
But I don't know that she was consciously making the choice to do that versus the fact that it screwed with her to do that. That was how I read it, at least. It wasn't her consciously deciding, I have to go open this to try and cure it. It was the net sum effect of the migraines and the headaches and the way the death totem was trying to manipulate her basically pushed her into it. That's how I read it.
Yeah, and she was possessed by Mollis, and we learn in this episode that the tribe responsible for the death totem actually sided with Mollis, and they actually fought for the demon, which is why the death totem is tied to Mollis, and Sarah was possessed by Mollis, and Sarah was an assassin and died and came back and died and came back. We've lost track. So her kind of being death does make sense.
Yes. I mean, she has a special relationship with death that no one else on that ship has.
I like the instantaneous costume change and, quite frankly, the Scooby-Doo mask that she's wearing throughout the episode.
That's an accurate statement. Ruh-roh.
True, but she looked cool.
Yeah, I wasn't debating that. I mean, it was cool necromancing stuff. Actually, isn't necromancing like more black than white?
Well, it depends on how you view communing with the dead. It's not necrophilia is different than necromancy. So necrophilia is bad.
I guess I was just thinking of the Vin Diesel movies. What was that again? He was playing that space death guy.
Chronicles of Riddick?
Yeah, Riddick. That's right. So like when they get into the big group and everybody, they're trying to spread the death, it's all black.
Okay. Coming back to the show, Sarah gets to... What's interesting is Sarah's an assassin, and then she's just a powered-up version of herself, and she just kicks everybody's ass.
She does, as I would believe her to be. Mick, I think, would be more effective if he would actually train. And he is very capable, but he is not using his tactics very well. You don't close in to use the gun. you actually use the gun from far away. Now, I know that she threw a knife at him at one point in time, or at least I'm remembering that. I might be hopped up on cold medicine right now. So, but the way to actually use a ranged weapon is by using your range, because if you close in, the assassin is going to use that hand-to-hand advantage over you. So I just think Mick needs a little bit more tactical training and patience.
Yeah, but Mick doesn't care. That's the thing. I mean, let's look at his character here. Oh, we're going to repair the ship. I'm going to get drunk and go to sleep. I mean, that's the way he is. He is a brawler who can get done most of what he needs to do, or has been able to do that in the past. So he's never really felt the need to go and practice. And we'll touch on that next episode a bit, based off some events that come out of this episode.
And then also, if you're Wally, you're a speedster, right? We talked about this last time, that speedsters are notorious for not thinking, they just rush into things. So you got the speedster that goes it alone, fails. You got the Man of Steel that goes alone and fails. I mean, come on. You just use your powers together. Don't go alone against the assassin. You beat her by overwhelming her with all of your great talents used in concert, not solo. They needed a good captain this episode, didn't they?
They need a field general, for lack of a better term.
They needed Gary, the ultimate DM. That's what they needed. I love that sequence when he was like, this reminds me of when we went after the sword, and how he was kind of like, we had a monk, this person was down, and everything like that. It was amazing because we get Gary, Ava and Sarah wake up, and it's all nice and cute. And then she learns about John Constantine. And of course, Ava needs to go get John Constantine in order to help Sarah. And we get that wonderful, when they're at John Constantine's apartment, it's Ava, it's Gary, it's John Constantine. And Ava is kind of jealous and such, isn't she, Chris?
Yeah, and John Constantine is not ruffled by this whatsoever. In fact, I think he enjoys tweaking her a little bit when it comes to his past with Sarah. And it's quite delightful to me because Constantine is quite quippy, and I always enjoy that, and witty.
SP?
So Constantine, this episode, I came to love Constantine. Edit. So Constantine this episode, I came to love Constantine this episode because he was just so awesome. And he wasn't romantically involved in Sarah trying to get in her pants or anything. He's legitimately trying to survive. First of all, you know, it's a, what did he say? It's a gig economy. And then he is just trying to save Sarah because he knows he needs to save Sarah to save the Earth and to defeat Malice. So he's willing to work in concert with everybody, but he has his own panache with it. And he is delightful to watch. And I think he might even suspect that something's up with Ava as well. There might be an aura around her that depicts her as, and I won't spoil it if you haven't watched the rest of the season right now, but there's something different about Ava. And Rip Hunter knows, but I think Constantine suspects. So I think he's playing around a little bit with that as well. But I think he fits in well with the Legends. I think this next season, spoilers, he is going to join the Legends next season. I think this next season is going to be really fun with him. And I think that watching Constantine in a group setting is going to be better than just watching him solo. That's just me speculating there.
And plus, we did hear in interviews that he doesn't like to wear clothes on the ship to the shower. So you've got some eye candy coming for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Some buttocks scenes, maybe.
Oh, I hope so. And what I liked, one of the things I liked about this episode, you didn't need to know John Constantine's past to understand that he's a demonologist, that he knows what he's doing and such. But for those of us who have read the comics and who know a little bit more about it, hearing Newcastle being mentioned, Constantine's older sister, he's actually an uncle, you know, Astra, the whole thing. Astra is the one thing that haunts him every single day. It was really kind of interesting. It was nice that they brought that in, that they're not going to leave that to the wayside, because that whole part of if Astra if Mollis could actually free Astra, and Constantine, telling Sarah that, yeah, I would have easily had swapped you for her. That's very true. Astra's a little girl. Constantine was younger. He bleeped up. I can't, messed up is not the right word. He bleeped up, and her soul ended up in hell. But just those little moments, it was just kind of nice as a Constantine, fan, not only of the TV show, but of the comics. It was nice to have that little layer in there. So I have to admit, this is the episode where I kind of actually finally fell in love with Gary. What about you, SP?
Yeah, I was, last episode I was, or was it 2 episodes ago? I was very protective of Gary because I did believe he should have been depanced the way he was. I think people are taking advantage of him, although he is a little creepy around Ava, so I'll give it that. But he comes out as a true geek. So he's the fan in the show, and you got to love him. He's been through so much. He ends up in the trash compactor. He gets depantsed. There's a lot of stuff going on with Gary. And I have not seen Gary at a con. I would love to see him in a con. I forget the actor's name, but he is really fun to watch. And this is the episode where I was like, yeah, he's just not somebody to fool around with anymore. They're actually bringing him on as a character in the show. He's like Guy in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I don't know about you guys. I want to go play D&D with Gary and his group.
They'd probably kick my butt.
That's okay. It'd be fun, though.
Well, yeah.
And Gary got a kiss from Constantine. He was happy about that.
Who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't be, yeah. It's John Constantine.
And the fact that he gets Constantine to play D&D at the end of the episode.
That's just delightful to me.
I mean, you got a real life warlock playing D&D. I mean, how often does that happen in life?
Very rarely, I would assume.
Yeah, slim to none chance, I think. Well, is there anything else you want to cover, Chris?
We got the fire totem, finally. That's all intact, and I hinted at it. Our wielder for that is one Mick Rory, who is able to fling fire and play with fire, which I'm sure is fun for him, but it's probably going to require some practice to get to use it properly, and we know from our previous conversations, Mick doesn't really like to practice so much, so it'll be interesting to see how his powers develop with said totem.
Do you know what was really cool about that is because Amaya, I believe, or somebody else, but I think it was Amaya, said before they actually decided who was going to wield the totem that it had to be somebody pure of heart, I believe. And Mick is pure of heart. I mean, he acts like a bad butt, and he goes out and steals little trinkets and stuff like that. He's an award-winning romance sci-fi novelist, and he ends up with having this purity of heart, and I just think that's awesome. I mean, Mick is the character of characters on the show. I love seeing him on the screen.
Yes, he hides the fact that he cares a lot behind his gruff demeanor and things like that. To get, oh, Mick, you're pure of heart, and you're thinking back, man, the Mick Rory we met in season 1 of Flash, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, because Nate goes after the Earth Totem, and Nate just holds on to it, and nothing happens.
We all have low performance anxiety sometimes, I guess.
SP, anything else you want to talk about?
I guess it gets into the techno babble of the show and the fact that it's just a popcorn show. But, when does Gideon actually have control and when does she not? So I have to scratch my head a little bit about that. Yeah, exactly. It's just, so she can control the ship when the plot requires, and the ship can go dark when the plot requires. So I don't know. Amy Pemberton's voice is awesome on the show, and I'll just take it for the popcorn that it is.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Sarah gets saved in the end by the power of love, Ava's love. She hears Ava, and I love that conversation in Mollis's territory with Nora, because Nora's all like, become one of us. It's your destiny. And Sarah's just like, she hears everyone. She hears Ava, and she's like, I'm not going to be some demon's lackey and such. And of course, Sarah is Sarah, and she thinks she's not worthy of happiness and love. And she breaks it off with Ava, which broke my heart.
Yeah, but if you look at the character of Sarah, you kind of get it because this is her MO.
You know they're getting back together. You just know because they're too right for each other. And you have Alex over in the Supergirl universe that it's a different universe. Otherwise, Alex and Sarah could get together, but she's not there. So it's Sarah and Ava. That's the couple. They need to be there. And they're always go on the ship. I was thinking about this too. Why are they always together on the ship? It's because Sarah's the captain. She can't leave the ship. Whereas Ava is an agent. Now, I believe she's the director of the Time Bureau. And so she can go home, but Sarah can't because she's the captain of the ship.
Well, we are going to learn more about Ava in next week's episode, which is called I, Ava. It's season 3, episode 16. It originally aired Monday, March 26, 2018. Sarah and Ray set out to find Ava when she disappears, and Time Bureau agent Gary reveals a disturbing truth about her. We get Gary again.
Yay!
Nice.
Directed by Dean Cho and written by Ray Ucharnichik and Daphne Miles.
Can't wait for that one. In the meantime, we're going to get into some news. Live from the Starling Tribune main news desk on floor 52 of Starling Tribune Tower, it's the weekly news roundup with chief news anchor Michelle Ely. And now, Michelle Ely.
Thanks. Got a couple of Arrow tidbits. First, Felicity has a new look. In photos from season 7, shows her visiting Oliver in prison. She has longer hair. It's pink. She has a lip ring, a nose ring, and no glasses. And she also has a boo-boo on her forehead. So what do we think of Felicity? It's not quite her goth hacktivist look, which was all black and everything. But we're getting, I don't know, pink version?
Maybe she should have trained a little bit more in the Arrow Cave. And I wonder who was saying that, like last year, or the year before, and the year. I wonder. Idea. That was me.
Are you sure? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Play back the tape. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's a nice look. Her hair's a little longer. She's got like little pink. I don't know if they're dyed or if it's bought extensions, whatever. If she grew it or if she bought it, it's still her hair. It's an interesting look.
I used to follow her on Instagram, and in the summer, actually in the winter too, when they're not filming, she always finds a beach and she's always posting pictures of herself in a bathing suit, which she looks very nice in the bathing suit. But I just picture her as more of the pink or the Valley Girl kind of bright colored look than anything else. So I just don't picture her as the Mission Impossible blacked, hooded spy or vigilante or anything.
I think she's trying to change her look so she doesn't look the same. I mean, you're married to the Green Arrow. People aren't going to like you out in the world.
Somewhat. Some do.
The Green Arrow's enemies aren't going to like you, and they are apt to do bad things.
Fair enough. Supervillains. Well, by the way, Venture Brothers is back, and why I'm thinking about this is because the Guild of Calamitous Intent and their arching policy. So I think she's going to get arched this season.
I wonder what William thinks. Or maybe if William has purple hair, that'd be great. If she got pink and then William got like this bright purple spiky hair and they're like going along that way, I think that would be awesome. I hope William has his own little punk look too.
I don't know if William could pull it off.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Issues, yeah.
One could hope.
Okay, you could hope, Michelle.
And there was a short promo also released. In it, it's a looped clip of the upcoming season. and it's him with no shirt on. It's in the shower, so I suppose this is possibly where he's supposed to be naked, but he's being attacked by several individuals and he's kicking butt. And unfortunately, we probably won't see Stephen Amell's butt in that scene.
You know what I'm hoping for, though, is in the beginning of this series we saw, and we've talked a lot about this in the last couple of years, is that the fight choreography in the first couple of seasons of Arrow was amazing, because you did have that street slugging mentality and you had real stunts going on with limited cuts, or you had big, huge, wide shots with multiple fights going on, in some cases on different levels of buildings and stuff like that. I'm hoping that because he's in the prison and he doesn't have any of his tech around him, that we're going to get a lot of better fight choreography this season. And I don't think we've talked about that yet, but I think at least while he's in the prison, could last an episode, could last 6 episodes, could last the whole season. We just don't know. I'm hoping for better fight choreography in the prison.
Me too. I have missed a lot of the hard hitting. You can tell it's Stephen Amell doing his stunts work.
Even if it's a stunt man, I don't care. Just show me the actual fight and don't show me the quick cuts. Don't show me cheap stunts. Show me actual really hard fights. The sort of stuff that you get with Daredevil, over on Netflix or on the Marvel side. That's one of the things that brought a lot of people to the show. We've been missing it. And I get it that they're on an 8-day production schedule. They're doing broadcast TV versus Netflix, which is streaming. I get all that, but you can do better, because they did better the first couple of seasons than they did in the subsequent seasons. I mean, there was brightness here and there, but it wasn't just consistent. So I'm just hoping for that consistency of greatness as they go on. And if Stephen Amell himself is in a lot of the fights, I can just see him wearing down, because he's also acting. So he can't do all the fight choreography and acting at the same time. He's just going to get his body beat up. So there you go.
True. So wait, do we want to call it? How long do we think he's going to be in prison?
8, 9 episodes, probably till the crossover, and they'll find some way to get him out.
It's so hard to do this because we have Flashpoint to go on, right? And actually every single off-season, not every single, but most of the off-season big cliffhangers, they get resolved in like the first episode. And while I think the prison story has got to go longer than 1 episode for it to be effective, I just have this nagging feeling that it's going to be shorter rather than long. So I'm going to say 3 episodes, which I believe is the same length that we said about Flashpoint as well. But I'm going to say 3 episodes. So we'll see.
I think they're about 3 episodes in on filming right now, and Stephen Amell is still sporting his prison look. And when he's been doing like some Facebook Live Q&As, been sporting makeup like he's had his butt handed to him in prison. So I think it's going to go longer than that. I'm still saying right up until the crossover, and then something happening in the crossover requires them to have to get Oliver Queen out of jail and make some kind of strange deal to do it.
I would agree. Crossover. By the crossover, he's out.
Okay. Or at least on a reprieve, whether it's intentional or not.
Maybe it's only a temporary day pass. I don't know. But he'll be out for the crossover. We know that for a fact. And I think that will set something into motion that causes him to stay out.
So are you saying that the crossover is going to be a conjugal visit?
No,
Okay.
I was not. We can go with that, though, if that's what we want.
There'd be a lot of explaining to the younger viewers about that.
Oh, they already had that in Nanda Parbat a few years back.
Fair.
Well, that's all I have for news. Chris, we are part of a larger podcasting network, aren't we?
That's right, Michelle. We're part of the Gonna Geek Network, like you can see on my mic flag if you're watching this live. That network has 25 plus different shows on it that cover a variety of topics. You've got shows like us. We talk about Arrow and the greater Arrow universe. You've got shows that talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., general geek culture, video gaming, tabletop gaming. There are all sorts of different shows in the network, and we can't very well tell you about every show. But we can give you a taste of one show and say, hey, maybe you guys should go check this one out. And this time, we're going to the land down under for our friends at the Game Life Balance, Australia podcast, episode 67, The Gigatron 5000. This week, the boys discuss the massive influence that D&D had on video games and reminisce about some of their favorite D&D inspired games. Actually, it's mainly Rob who does that, while AC does his best to derail him and laugh at D&D because it's for nerds. Which is fair enough. Also in this charming episode, Call of Duty, World at War, professional video monitors, Bubble Symphony, Laserdiscs, and a little lady by the name of Gigatron 5000. And since they were talking about D&D for their show, it just made sense to tie that into the promo read this week. Maybe they can talk to Gary about his D&D experiences and John Constantine. Who knows? But that is Game Life Balance Australia. You can find the Gonna Geek Network. Head over to GonnaGeek.com, click on the network button, and check them out, as well as all of the other great shows that make up the network. But all that being said, looking at the time, it is time for us to start wrapping things up for this evening. So a big thank you to everyone who joined us in the live chat over on Geeks.live, but also a thank you to folks who catch the video replays over on YouTube at youtube.com/GonnaGeek, or who download the audio podcast from StarlingTribune.com.
If you happen to have an Amazon device, remember you can enable our podcast as a skill. Just say the activation word, enable Starling Tribune. And remember, you can always catch us as we record live at www.geeks.live. We do have a live chat room that you can interface with us. We do this at 7:30 p.m. Eastern or 4:30 p.m. Pacific on Thursdays.
We would love to hear from you. We are the Starling Tribune on Facebook and Instagram, at Starling Tribune on Twitter, and you can call us at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283. Well, this brings us to the end of another great episode. Any last words before we sign off? At Stargate Pioneer.
Hashtag Constantine Gameplay.
At the Chris Farrell.
Hashtag not a conjugal visit.
And I am at Michelle Ely, signing off with hashtag Earth Totem Performance Anxiety. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at GonnaGeek.com or check out our archive at StarlingTribune.com. Visit GonnaGeek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at Incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.